against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Warren.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
For incitement to racial hatred involves publishing or distributing material which is insulting or abusive, which is intended to or likely to start racial hatred. So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence. And we do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification, arrests, and so forth. So it's a really, really serious. People might think they're not doing anything harmful. They are, and the consequences will be visited upon them.
Thompson now to talk through this. So Matthew, the last point there is crucial, isn't it? Some people might be sharing simply to warn their friends, but it could be considered an offence because they're amplifying this.
Absolutely, and that's the key message, is that however you think you're acting innocently on social media, whatever platform it is, you're just sharing something for whatever reason, that could potentially be a criminal offence. And look, it's not an idle threat either, because the Crown Prosecution Service were keen to point out that they've made a number of charges in relation to stirring up of racial hatred online, one of which this morning was for distributing a recording that could, intending to stir up racial hatred. And so they are actually already bringing charges in relation to this sort of thing. So it's a very, very clear message based in the harsh reality, if you like, that if you do this kind of thing, you are potentially committing a criminal offence. There he said it. They've got teams of people scouring the internet looking for this sort of thing. And if you are in the business of sharing or retweeting, whatever platform it might be, potentially criminal material, well, then you could find yourself prosecuted.
Yo, we're going to Simply Bitcoin Live, the most watched daily Bitcoin live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Starting out with the cold opening hot. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. In UK, they're literally locking people up for retweeting certain types of content. Now, of course, I don't think anyone likes racism, but history has shown, I think over the last 5 years, is they'll use noble causes in order to obfuscate. One of the things that we always hear is like, this and this and that is a danger to democracy. And it starts to sound like everything that is against the official party line is a danger to democracy, right? So when you say, look, we locked him up because his tweet was racist versus we locked him up because his tweet was politically incorrect and it made the government look bad, you're gonna approach that very differently. And this is something also too that we've been talking about many times on the show for the last couple of months. Like I've been saying, this is the great disintermediation. The internet has allowed mass scale peer-to-peer communications via social media, and it's taken a lot of the power away from the legacy media outlets. And those are the outlets that the government used to be able to control. Nayib Bukele wrote this amazing piece for Bitcoin Magazine. We quote it all the time. It's called "Don't Drink the Elite's Kool-Aid." And in that piece, he said their most important weapon is their control on truth. I mean, we've been saying it, guys. Like Opti, we don't really do the we do the meme review, but not as much, not as often anymore. But one of the things that Opti says there is, if tweets are bullets, memes are artillery in this information warfare on the battlegrounds of the internet. And there you go. Like people are literally, getting locked up for retweeting things that aren't politically acceptable by, the current regime in the UK, which is just, it's so crazy to say that. And it also makes me really thankful because here in the US, of course, you're protected by the First Amendment. So unless you're like directly calling out for violence, your speech is much more protected than it is in the United Kingdom. So yeah, I mean, pretty crazy. If they're not okay with you speaking freely, what makes you think they're going to be okay with you transacting freely? Like, these are also the same people that want you to trust them with the central bank digital currency. They can't even help themselves with information. Could you imagine the power they're going to have with something like money and, being able to influence certain types of behavior? So pretty crazy. We're going to talk about that today. But also the breaking news that I want to focus on is It's almost as if maybe the Democratic Party was watching Simply Bitcoin, because we did go hard in the paint yesterday. I'm going to bring up Opti. We go hard in the paint, and I don't want to say it's a coincidence, but it sure does feel like a coincidence that, you know, after yesterday, Opti and I went pretty hard. You know, literally the morning of it came out on Fox Business, or maybe late last night. No, it was this morning. They basically made an announcement that you know, the Biden, or sorry, the Harris campaign is reaching out to the so-called crypto industry in order to talk with the industry. Now, we've heard this multiple times over the last month or two. We're sticking to our message, which is like, talk is cheap, action is expensive. The Biden administration currently has the executive power to free Ross. So go show a gesture of goodwill. Like, you can do it right now, right? You don't have to wait for an election. You can do it right now. You have the power to do so. And again, if you pay attention to their actions, and this is actual just breaking news, it broke about 30 minutes ago. It seems like the federal government, or branches of the federal government, are still going after banks that are dealing with Bitcoin and crypto in the United States. So it seems like Operation Choke 0.0 is still happening. And they want the best of both worlds. They want the votes, but they don't want to put up or shut up. So, you know, I'm sticking to what I said yesterday. It's just, you know, there's what's the saying, Opti? There's no conspiracies, but there's also no coincidences. I'm not saying they were watching Simply, but that was a big coincidence, bro. Opti, what's your take?
I don't think it's you're giving us a little too much credit here. I don't think it's them watching Simply Bitcoin. I think it's just a clear response to the fact that the Republican Party is going full into.
Are you saying that there isn't one Democratic staffer that potentially watches our show?
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if there was.
Like, yo, like the Bitcoiners are upset, man.
Wouldn't be surprised if they were. But on that note, this is why I am so happy to be an American, because I am pretty sure that all of my Twitter or social media accounts would have fully gotten nuked by now, and I wouldn't be on the show. So as I tweeted this morning, you know, let's continue to make America not UK again. So let's double down on this ideals, that this is why we left the UK in the first place, is so that we can have free speech and we can talk about things. And, you know, my view on free speech is like, let's have all the conversations happening so that we can actually see who the dumb people are. Like, you don't know what's actually going on if you have to censor information. And I think it's very powerful to let people have these conversations and let ideas be exposed, because then you can clearly see where people stand. And if you hide the conversations, then it's literally like Big Brother 1984 stuff. Like, this is where we are right now, full totalitarian dystopian future that was a warning of where not to go. And yet here we are right now. It's absolutely incredible that this is where we are. And I mean, I said it this week, Nico, I said it once, you know, what was the meme? I always butcher the meme, but like, born too early to see the moon landing, but born just in time to be, you know, a digital freedom fighter on the internet. So here we are.
Can't be a TikToker, but can be a YouTuber.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be a TikToker, but can be a freedom money advocate. So incredible stuff. Very interesting in the worst way possible of what's going on in the UK. It's just, man, it's terrifying that obviously the UK usually leads in response to, you know, where the progressives are going. And man, it's not looking good for the UK.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you. Anyways, we got our boy Tony from the Bitcoin Way. Bitcoin Way is a sponsor of Simply Bitcoin Original. Shout out Rustin. And we always enjoy having Tony on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. How are you? Thank you for having me again.
Good. I'm excited. You guys just dropped a new commercial earlier on today. We're going to play it for you guys. It's very well done. You guys did an incredible job with the production. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin Way, because that's one of the things that we get in the comments from you guys all the time. It's like, you guys either have questions about hardware wallets or how to take self-custody, or how to do these things, which seem difficult at first because you've been used to outsourcing the personal responsibility, the storage of your wealth, to a third party like a bank. So self-custody could seem a little bit radical, but I promise you, once you learn it, you'd be like, how did I even trust the bank in the first place? Like, that is crazy. So that's what the guys over at Bitcoin Way are for. They're your personal Bitcoin IT team, and they'll walk you through any type of your personal Bitcoin setup, and they'll hold your hand through the process. So anyways, it's going to be a great show, guys. Lots to unpack. Stay tuned. But before we get to the numbers, I do give a shout out to our lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. To get started, all you got to do is you put in your email address, and within 2 to 3 minutes, you'll be able to buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well. Also, every time you earn Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points, and you could use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. And am I not logged in right now? Let's try.
You got to hit redeem, bro. Come on. You've done this enough.
I was hitting redeem.
Nah, you're hitting the, how to earn points. No, right there.
Oh, there we go. Let's try that one more time. And flick a coin into the Bitcoin Wishing Well. And first person to scan the QR code wins 500 satoshis. Bitcoin Well is an automatic self-custody Bitcoin on-ramp. That means every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, after the funds clear, go straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. Support self-custody by default Bitcoin on-ramps like bitcoinwell.com. If you use promo code simplybtc when signing up, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin Wishing Well. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Everybody, so you want to maintain the relationship that you have with your grandchildren, right? You want to maintain that. You don't want to lose that relationship. The way that you keep that relationship is by properly securing your generational wealth and not writing down your seed phrase on paper. You got to stamp it into titanium. You got to proof of work your seed phrase storage. And this is exactly what the Stamp Seed Kit is for. It's a professional metal stamping toolkit where they bring you a hammer, they have these little stamps, and you stamp the seed into a plate of titanium. That's right, titanium. It's like waterproof, it's fireproof, it's all these things proof. It's one of the most strongest metals on planet Earth. You only have to buy the kit once, and then you can buy as many kits, many plates as you need. They have holes on the side, the stamp seeds, so you can mount it into a wall or under a desk. Covering plates are coming soon. No loose pieces. More pieces equals more points of failure. It's just one solid, strong piece of titanium. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. So stamp your generational wealth properly into titanium. Promo code SIMPLY. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $59,430. Sats per dollar, 1,683. Block height, 855,926. Blocks to having 194,074. Having estimate March 23rd, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,815. Capacity value, 286 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.46%. Market capitalization, 1.17 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 7.11%. In the grand scheme of things, we are just getting started. Anyways, Natalie Brunell continues to do the rounds on legacy media, and she's been doing an incredible job. Here she is again on Fox Business. Fox Business, I gotta give them credit. That channel has been very positive. Just the coverage that they've done on us, or our industry, better said. So it's been quite positive, and of course, Natalie is a great voice and a great representation of our movement, and of course, she has that legacy media training as well. So she's able to say a lot of information in a very condensed fashion. Anyways, all right, everybody, let's play the clips. About 2 minutes.
So the comeback in Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of these others is indicative of maybe something that might have more staying power, but it's only a day. Let's go to Natalie Brunell. She is the Coin Store's podcast host. Natalie, should I believe today or yesterday when it comes to some of these crypto plays?
Hi, Neil. Great to see you. Well, Bitcoin, it's a great day to buy every day. And there's a saying I think of during times of panic, and that is, a genius is the man who can do the average thing when everyone else around him is losing his mind. And the genius thing is just a dollar cost average into Bitcoin. Ignore the noise. Bitcoin was $25,000 last August. So zoom out and remember that markets go up, but they can also come back down, and the corrections are really great buying opportunities.
Now, given the market volatility, I thought I would have seen, the Bitcoin and some of these other plays hold their own as an alternative. Gold typically has been the hedge of late. It's down a little bit today, but it's in and out of these all-time highs of close to $2,500 the ounce. Is it a battle between gold and Bitcoin and some of these others?
Well, I think Bitcoin improves upon the properties of gold. And Bitcoin is really digital capital. You can trade it at the speed of light globally 24/7 without permission from any intermediary. So when people want to express sentiment on market shifts or geopolitical risks overnight or on a weekend, there are very few things that they can sell instantly. And so think about what that says about our 21st century system, Neil. And I credit Michael Saylor for pointing this out too. We are interconnected through digital technology, and yet we're crawling on 20th century rails and schedules when it comes to moving capital. Securities trade Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 4. So 135 hours of the week, you can't move capital. Everything is slow and expensive, and you have to get permission from your bank, which has to get permission from the central bank, in what's ultimately an over-leveraged, over-financialized, under-capitalized system. And so while many people don't understand this yet, Bitcoin is digital capital, and its volatility in times of panic is actually a feature, not a bug. It shows how liquid and reliable it is.
Well, you're quite right about that. You can trade it 24/7. Now,
Well, Natalie does an incredible job. And also one thing that I want to mention as well is they kept like lumping in Bitcoin with the other alternative cryptocurrencies, and it's not a good comparison, right? Like Ethereum or Solana or whatever, like it hurts me saying them. But you know, all these alternatives, like they might be up dollar terms, but if you compare, which should be the only pair that you should actually care about, if you compare any of these alternatives to their Bitcoin pairs, they're still down from like 2021. Like they haven't recovered, right? So always pay attention to the Bitcoin pairs, not the dollar pairs, because you should be measuring your net worth in Bitcoin. You shouldn't be measuring your net worth in dollars. So anyways, all that being said, the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think it's a little bit of a disservice. Like if you're legacy media, you're essentially equating Bitcoin with all these others. And then not to mention the graphics that they're pulling up. You know, they're pulling up like Ethereum and they're pulling like whatever, like one doesn't equal the other, right? Bitcoin is unique. Bitcoin is completely different than all these other cryptos. Bitcoin's the only one that is truly decentralized. You can't manipulate the rules to benefit yourself. You can't do that in any of the other cryptos don't offer that. So a lot of people are attracted to the other ones because of the short-term volatility. In my experience, and I've been maybe doing this for a little bit. You tend to end up with more Bitcoin if you just stay humble, stack sats, and stay solvent than if you try to play the trading game. It's not to say that you can't succeed, but just a general trend is I've seen more people wreck themselves than, you know, actually pull off successful trades and stuff. So anyways, so yeah, I mean, definitely heading in the right direction. Also, another comment that I saw, which I think is, I think it was David Bailey that said this, because I think a lot of people were exactly, Lightning Goats pointed it out. That was exactly what I was about to say. Do you remember the first day or the first week or the first 6 months that you got into Bitcoin? You were probably in the depths of hell of the most shitty of the shit coins that you can ever imagined. And only through calling through those piles of shitcoinery do you actually realize that Bitcoin is different. Like expecting someone to just get it on the first day is incredibly naive. And that applies to legacy media, and that applies to Trump, and that applies to Trump's family. Like it just like thinking that you don't, like maybe in 5 years, if they're still, you know, like trying to do that, then maybe let's have a different discussion about it. But they just got into the game. So did legacy media. Like they don't know any better. Like for them, like Bitcoin and Ethereum are exactly the same. It's just different branding, right? Anyways, I want to pass it on to Opti. Opti, what do you think?
Yeah, so first off, I do want to talk about the anchor. I don't know his name, didn't catch his name, but it's funny how he kind of framed it. It's like, okay, you know, Bitcoin dumped and it rebounded, and this just, you know, goes to show, and he's questioning the staying power of Bitcoin, whereas all of us in Bitcoin that have been here for, you know, longer than a year or so and have delved into Bitcoin understand that like Bitcoin is the new stability in the financial world. And you can count all of the like 200 obituaries about Bitcoin dying, and then it always comes back from the grave. Or in meme terms, you know, there's that like classic Undertaker Bitcoin meme where he like comes out of the coffin and it rises again. It's like, this is what happens with Bitcoin. It always seems like it's dead to the person that doesn't understand Bitcoin. And then if for some reason, you know, Bitcoin is always able to come back from the dead and it reaches new all-time highs. And this is just how you can tell, like to the point that you and Lightning Goats made, that legacy media or even the new figures or new people coming into Bitcoin don't fully understand Bitcoin yet. And this might be one of those things that you kind of only learn through experience. As when you come in new to Bitcoin, I remember when I got into Bitcoin 2017 and we had that 2017 blow off top, I was still learning what Bitcoin was when it basically blew up in 2018, or rather the end of 2017, early 2018. And that's when I was doubling down in my understanding of what Bitcoin is. And so you kind of have to learn these lessons through experience, or, you know, you can be wise and listen to other Bitcoiners that have been around, hence Simply Bitcoin. But as Natalie Brunell was saying, and as the classic trope goes, you want to buy assets when there's blood on the streets. And it still blows my mind. And I don't understand people that sell their Bitcoin in the face of financial uncertainty when Bitcoin is like the most certain thing, period, like full stop. Bitcoin monetary policy is the only stable monetary policy in the world. Bitcoin runs 24/7, 365. It's the most liquid market, period. It's the only free market left in the world. And it's really, I think it really highlights the fact that most people still don't fundamentally understand what they hold when they hold Bitcoin, is because they're, you know, as much as we get bad raps for all of us Bitcoiners being speculators, we would all argue that we're just saving in something that cannot be debased. You know, we just want to store our value and transact freely. But when new entrants come into Bitcoin, you can tell that they're basically here just to speculate on the price. Or as the other Bitcoin meme goes, you know, you come for the money and you stay to fix the money, or you come for the money, you come for the gains, but you stay for the revolution. And you're starting to see that people are learning about Bitcoin slowly but surely. But again, most people don't have the time, or rather don't have the pain point that most of us Bitcoiners have found in our own lives, that they want to, you know, do hours of research into understanding Bitcoin. They're just like, okay, I'm going to throw some money at it and hopefully it goes up and I'm going to forget about it and I'll be good in the future. Whereas, like, you know, we have Tony on today from Bitcoin Way. It's like there is a learning curve to understanding the Bitcoin market, the best Bitcoin practices. And it's kind of just like how it was when we all got the internet in the first time. Like there is a learning curve to understanding how to use new technology. And you're seeing that people are, you know, slowly but surely waking up to this fact that, hey, it's not as easy as just, you know, throwing your money at Bitcoin and leaving it on Charles Schwab accounts or whatever the equivalents are, and you're going to be good. It's like, no, there is a certain learning curve. There is a certain amount of experience and behavioral change that will become a part of your Bitcoin journey. And all of us Bitcoiners that have been here for a long time, you know, looking backwards, it's very easy for us to be like, oh, these people are idiots. They don't understand Bitcoin like we understand, you know, get on our high horse and stuff. But hey, I'm pretty sure most of us went through our own shitcoin phase. And then we realized that, hey, this isn't the get rich quick scheme I thought it was. Maybe I need to figure out what Bitcoin is because I'm getting poorer. And that's what everyone else is feeling. You know, the ultimate shitcoin is the dollar. And yet people just still think that there's stability in the fiat currencies because $1 equals $1. Little do they understand that, like, this is why life is getting harder, is because your dollar is losing its purchasing power. So there is a learning curve and a certain understanding that you have to get through to finally become, you know, Bitcoin maxi. But it does come with experience. So I think in time, we're going to get to a point where they're, you know, kudos to like Joe Kernan and what's his name, Charles Payne, who are like already full blown Bitcoin maxis on Fox News. But we're going to get to a point where everyone else realizing what the real game is, which is holding Bitcoin for as long as possible.
Absolutely. Tony, what do you think, man?
Yeah, man, you guys summed it up pretty nicely. People that come, you know, from places of privilege, actually, you know, it plays against them, you know, when they get into something like Bitcoin, because, you know, they're coming with the idea that this is just another speculative asset, another stock, another investment, you know, that I'm going to get into and hopefully become, you know, very rich, you know, dollar rich or euro rich. And ultimately, you know, they don't understand money to begin with, which is, you know,
Yeah.
the biggest differentiator between a real Bitcoiner and someone just coming in for the ride. And so when the number goes up, you know, they get all horny, everybody's happy. And then when it comes crashing down, everybody calls it a scam, and, you know, all sorts of rubbish starts spewing out. So I think this is like a big catalyst for those, you know, in North America, in the EU, that come from places of comfort. Still, they haven't felt the pain, versus those that are coming from places of destruction, you know, like where I came from and what led me to Bitcoin. And when you come, you know, there's a very different narrative that forms in your head when you're coming from darkness than when you're coming just to have a good time. So you need to fundamentally understand, you know, that the world that you live in is 99% a fabrication. It's a lie that you've been fed since the day you were born. And until you accept that, it's going to be very difficult to focus on something like Bitcoin beyond the number go up phenomenon. And but it's only a matter of time, because we've come to a point, you know, in this world where the corruption and the inefficiencies and the bad decisions have gone so extreme that everything is falling apart. You know, I mean, you see the hatred, the division, the situation in the UK, the dystopian nightmare that you know, that has manifested into the wars and all that. All of these are intended distractions, you know, to shift your attention away from what's truly going on, is that the system is falling apart. And so the powers that be, they need this in order to continue playing on the ignorance and the fear of the masses, in order to hopefully maintain their, you know, their reign of power, to guide them where they want them to go next, you know, which is somewhere you definitely don't want to be, because it is 100% not in your best interest. So Bitcoin, for the first time in, you know, in humanity, is the option that we have to exit the system, to tell the powers that be, we don't want you anymore, we don't need you anymore, we want nothing to do with you. And now we have the means to stand up on our own, live our lives without ever having to look back and even acknowledge your presence. So in about 50 years, you know, people born at that time, in my opinion, will not even know what a bank is, thankfully, lucky for them. And those that study history, you know, and they see what we went through, they might call us crazy. You know, what kind of fools, you know, believe that, you know, worthless toilet paper controlled and created by a bunch of thieves actually has value. You know, like, I mean, there's a lot of that.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I think we're going to look back on these moments in history and we're just going to be like, can't believe we use paper as money. I even look at fiat currency today and I'm like, this is so insane that, you know, society is looking at it, it's like, this is money. It's just like a piece of paper. Yeah. I'm very, very optimistic on the future. I think it's going to be the world's going to be a much better place on a Bitcoin standard. Anyways, I do apologize for Opti blocking people in the chat.
Hey, let's not. I didn't mean to do that. That was by accident. I unblocked it already.
Guys, if you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. Help us break 100 likes within the first 30 minutes of the show. I think we're very close. We're like in 95 or something like that. So yeah, smash the like button. Anyways, guys, stay tuned. We still have a lot of content for you guys. Let's hit the news.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, everybody. I just want people to I want people to keep their eye on the prize, and the eye on the prize is the separation of money and state. Like, that's essentially what we want at the end. We really believe the world's going to be a much better place for it. And like, I think David Bailey's the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, BTC Inc., and the Bitcoin conference. And his being anti-Bitcoin is like being anti-internet. It's not a viable position. This is why you should have no fear that Bitcoin will become nonpartisan. We just need to defeat the Luddites first, and the message will be heard. I think it's a lot easier said than done. I think there's elements of the administrative state. Some people call it the deep state. Essentially, it's not conspiracy. It's just the unelected bureaucrats that remain in they keep their jobs regardless of what political candidate is in office. Therefore, there's really there's not a lot of accountability there, right? So anyways, they get a tremendous amount of power from money printing, right? It's why I believe all these governments all around the world are so huge. It's because they have this unique ability of creating money for free that everyone else has to work for. And I think that system, and again, not conspiracy theory or anything, that system is going to at least fight to protect itself. It's not naive to think that. Like, and do you blame them? Like, you know, it's like, you know, they probably see Bitcoin, they're like, this is going to replace us? What are you talking about? The people need central banking. So anyways, that's what I want to talk about today, because what's really interesting is that because of the political environment in the US, and because it's an election year, and honestly, because of the actions of Elizabeth Warren,
Amelia, turn off alarm.
And what's playing? It's an ad. Because of the options of Elizabeth Warren and elements of the Democratic Party, they essentially created a political opportunity for their opposing candidates. Because, like I was saying, this is an election year. So the Bitcoin and crypto community is basically saying, like, they're going after us. The Republican Party and RFK is like, oh, okay, we'll stand up and we'll protect Bitcoin and crypto. So that's what happened during the Nashville conference. I think it was monumental. It was a historic milestone for our industry, for our movement here in the United States, at least. And I think it was very positive overall. But that creates a situation. What is that situation? That situation is that Bitcoin is not a left and right thing. Bitcoin is not a Democrat Republican thing. Bitcoin is for everyone. Bitcoin is anti-tyranny. So if you're a tyrant, Bitcoin exposes you first, and it protects individuals from your shenanigans. So if you're a tyrant, you want to control people, you're not really going to like Bitcoin very much. That's really the way that I see it. However, if you do live in a quote unquote democratic society, your voter base, or a percentage of your voter base, a notable percentage, is going to dislike that. And I'll even add to that. Now, not only is it a notable percentage of your voter base, now the industry is becoming a notable donor base as well. And it's actual donors that get politicians elected in the US. As much as they'll say it's the people, yes, it's the people, but it's really the money behind the campaigns. So, and all of a sudden, the Democrats don't want to lose out on those donors, and they don't want to lose out on that industry. The thing is, we don't believe you anymore. Talk is cheap. And we keep seeing this. Every 3 weeks or so, you see a little heartbeat. So the latest heartbeat, and it was, is Democrats launch, quote, crypto for Harris campaign to counter Trump's industry appeal. It goes on to say, the Democratic arm of the cryptocurrency industry is determined not to let former President Trump run away with the crypto vote this fall. Fox Business has learned that a new pro-Kamala Harris advocacy group called Crypto for Harris plans to host a virtual town hall meeting next week with a working speaker lineup that includes left-leaning billionaire entrepreneur and crypto advocate Mark Cuban, Skybridge Capital founder and Trump critic Anthony Scaramucci, and a handful of Democratic members of the House of Representatives. Top Democratic Senate leaders have also been invited to speak at next week's virtual town hall meeting, which is open to the public and will discuss ways to support the Harris campaign and promote fundraising initiatives. Crypto for Harris currently touts around 50 members, with its main organizers consisting of industry participants and policy experts. Quote, the United States must continue to be a leader in blockchain and crypto, and groups like Crypto for Harris are working hard to ensure the right policies and conversations take place to ensure that outcome. The move comes as the race for the White House narrows between Trump and Harris, the respective Republican and Democratic nominees. Trump has a huge head start in attracting crypto luminaries to his campaign amid the regulatory assault unleashed by the Biden administration, for which Harris has served as vice president. After Biden's withdrawal from the race, she is now its standard bearer in the November election. So this article came out either today or yesterday, and you'd be like, oh my God, they're changing tune. Like, you know, they're showing us that they care. This is awesome. But again, I'm going to keep reiterating what I've been telling you guys every single time we get a little heartbeat, which is don't pay attention to what they say, pay attention to what they do. So here's the latest news. Customers Bank hit with Fed enforcement action for digital assets, dollar token activities, order flags, gaps in AML, KYC, and OFAC compliance. So this continues. Nick Carter comments, customers with one of the biggest crypto banks out there, Fed and FDIC, are systematically dismantling all crypto-friendly banks one after another. Here is Caitlin Long. And Caitlin Long is the founder of the Custodia Bank, and she was targeted by the so-called Operation Choke Point 2.0. Caitlin Long comments, well, isn't it interesting timing that the Fed drops this enforcement action on the same day as Ro Khanna's crypto reset? It's almost as if they're trying to send a message, right? That maybe there's an internal struggle within the Democratic Party, but hey, I don't got time for that. Okay, you guys might be struggling and stuff, but if there's one political party that's basically saying we'll be pro Bitcoin, and then there's other one that they're saying, oh, we're pro, give us money, but at the same time, they're metaphorically hitting you with a 2x4. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, you guys have to deal with that internally. So anyways, it goes on to say the Fed has a history of timing its actions. Anyone who thinks the timing of the Fed dropping the enforcement action during the quote unquote crypto reset meeting is purely coincidence, I've got a bridge to sell you. Operation Choke Point 2.0 is still alive and well in DC, unfortunately, and the Fed just proved that. So yeah, this is cheap. This right here, this is cheap. This is cheap talk. This doesn't count. You got to pay attention to their actions, right? And their actions are they're still going after the industry. If you look behind the door, here's Tyler Winklevoss. Tyler and Cameron were actually one of the biggest donors to Trump when he went to Nashville. They threw an event together with David Bailey of Bitcoin Magazine. So Tyler says Operation Choke Point 2.0 is alive and well. The Biden-Harris administration reign of terror continues. If this goes unabated for 4 more years, the crypto industry in America will be dead. Like, that is a very strong statement. I also believe that Gemini uses that bank, Customers Bank. I don't know that for sure, but I believe that's the case. Here's Balaji. Balaji says the Dem scam. In VC, it's not real until money is wired, right? This is what I've been saying. Like, don't pay attention to what they say, pay attention to what they do. And in DC, it's not real until Gensler is fired. That's why Crypto for Harris is a scam. They want crypto votes without spending any political capital. If the policy shift was real, they would immediately fire Gary Gensler, free Roman Storm, an innocent developer, repudiate the unrealized capital gains tax, and number 4, stop the SEC show trials. And that's just the start. Obviously, the party can do this instantly. After all, they just got a sitting president to stand down by threatening the 25th Amendment, pulling his donor support and smashing him in the press relentlessly. So Gensler would fall through a trapdoor in a second if the right people push the right buttons. That's such a great summary of essentially what we've been saying. Right? Like, it's so, talk is cheap, actions are expensive, and I don't believe them. I just don't believe them. Like, you guys want your cake, you want everything, but you don't want to pay for it. So yeah, like, I'm still bullish on Trump and RFK. Not so much from like does Bitcoin need these politicians to succeed? Not at all. But if you are a Bitcoin entrepreneur and a Bitcoin owner in the United States, you definitely want these guys to succeed, because just unfortunately, like if you want to do business, you kind of have to, there's some things that you gotta have to do. And yeah, I think that they can definitely make your life a living hell in the US, especially if they win this election again. That'd be pretty bad for the industry in the US. Now, does that mean that Bitcoin isn't going to pump or isn't going to succeed? No, Bitcoin survived throughout numerous hostile legislation. So it's not that Bitcoin needs politicians to succeed. I would say that politicians need Bitcoin to succeed. Bitcoin's going to win regardless. But like I said, if you're a Bitcoin business owner in the US, they can make your life difficult, which is why I bring that up. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, bro? I mean, dude, like such scammers, man. So to say this is a scam. They're so good at the media thing. Like how many, remember the first time we got really excited and the second one we're like, okay. And the third time, like, you know, you're just like, all right, dude, you guys are playing me a fool. But they get the press every time. They get the headline. I think that's all they care about, in my opinion. Like getting that headline, they're just like, look, guys, we're pro crypto too. You know, like what's that meme of that old dude with the skateboard?
Hello, fellow children.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that. It's like, hey guys, I'm a Bitcoiner also, you know. Anyways, what's your take, bro?
Yeah, well, first off, I do want to give a hat tip to Balaji. I think he's a really good Twitter account for you guys to follow. If you're like a toxic Bitcoin maximalist, you know, you may have some beef with him for the stuff he's done in the past, but I think he's been very cogent and very on point with a lot of the stuff that he's been tweeting lately. So I would highly recommend you follow his Twitter account. He does incredible threads that are, you know, from a vantage point of someone that knows what's going on from both sides of the aisle. On that point, though, I'm not surprised that we're seeing this happen. Well, actually, before I go into that, if you do read that article, though, and you look at some of the people that they picked to be a part of this, Crypto for Harris campaign, it is a lot of shitcoiners. Like one of them is from there's two advisors that they specifically mentioned. One of them's from Binance and the other one's from Ripple. So like, Am I holding my breath that something good is going to come out of this? No. All I'm saying is it does seem like they are just kind of trying a little too late to claw back the, you know, quote unquote crypto vote and persuade the Bitcoin, or rather the crypto industry, to embrace the Democrat Party. But like we're saying, you know, Kamala Harris is basically, or sorry, someone yelled at me yesterday. Kamala Harris, for the guys in the chat, is already in power. And if she really wanted to change her tune on the Bitcoin industry, then there's stuff that they could do right now. But they've given us hell for the last 3 years. And now just because we get some headline or a campaign to trying to persuade our industry to vote for them, it does seem like it's just hot air, that nothing's actually going to change. They could literally change things today. So am I surprised that this is happening? No, not at all. As we know as Bitcoiners, or rather, you know, I was watching Max Kaiser on Alex Jones this morning. He did a great interview, and just quoting Max Kaiser again, you know, this is the global hash war playing out in real time. The Bitcoin game theory is playing out in real time, where the first movers into the Bitcoin industry are going to be the real winners. And as we saw with Trump when he embraced Bitcoin, and you guys could say whether he likes Bitcoin or not, or whether he's a shitcoiner or whatever, the fact that he actually put Bitcoin into the presidential conversation just goes to show that if you are going to have an anti-Bitcoin stance, you are going to lose. Like, this is the movement here. I know Bitcoiners don't like to get political, but as a voting bloc, Bitcoin holders, or even at large, the crypto holders, you know, the shitcoin holders, like, we are a huge voting bloc. And if you're going to fight Bitcoin, then you're not going to win. It's becoming very clear now that you can't fight Bitcoin, because Bitcoiners not only have the money, but we have the numbers here, and it's only going to grow. So am I surprised by this headline? No, not at all. Do I think that she's actually going to change her tune on it? No, not at all. Remember, yesterday I absolutely went super hard on the administration and where I think their perspective is coming from. But Do we need the politicians? No, not necessarily. The politicians need Bitcoin. As you're seeing, they're trying to get the Bitcoin vote right now and, you know, garner our favor by saying like, oh, we're pro Bitcoin now or whatever, pro shitcoins now. And it's like, you got to, you know, like put up or shut up at this point, because you've been giving us help for the last 3 years and you think one little campaign is going to change anything. It's like, no, not at all.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, look, like talk is cheap, actions are expensive. You're trying to get something for free without paying for it. And you know, like that's not going to fly. And if you buy into that, like you're not paying attention. Anyways, Tony, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Man, I don't believe any of them. I'm not. I hate all. I hate all politicians. You know, no matter where they come from, they're all liars. And it's very clear that this current administration thinks that the American population are a bunch of morons. You know, obviously, this is why they're putting out these headlines. They're mocking you. You know, because these people are clearly evil. They have no intentions of serving the American people or benefiting the country in any way, shape, or form. And this is as a non-American, it's like crystal clear to me from the outside what's happening. Their actions, you know, are going the complete opposite direction of this rubbish. They don't even understand what Bitcoin is, other than it's something that they need to gain votes, or maybe even well, at least I hope they understand that this thing is a threat to them, and that's why they have to do whatever it is that they can to sort of keep it at bay. But it's clear that they're losing, because you cannot stop peer-to-peer technology. These headlines is like somebody just told them, here, throw out a bunch of buzzwords to the crowd and hopefully they'll shut up and, you know, clap for us. This is what I see from the outside. So categorically, you have to ignore this 100%. You pay zero attention to this. Bitcoin doesn't need any of them. Yes, it's true that if some politicians embrace it, they might make life easier. In the US specifically, in this case, you know, the actions of the US, while they may influence other countries, you know, they're not the end all and be all of what other places are going to adopt. And it's very clear because of the actions of countries like El Salvador, which I think are going to be the ones cloned going forward. You know, nations that resort to tyrannical measures will ultimately fail. Unfortunately, you know, the people are going to have to suffer through that journey. And I'm hoping that's not the case. So, you know, whether you're pro-Trump, whoever it is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because there's going to come a moment in time where they're going to realize that their power over money is over. And that's ultimately the end game here. The separation of money and state is the ultimate end goal. And everyone that cares about their lives and their futures and their freedoms and all of this must be doing everything possible under the sun to ensure that that twin is guaranteed.
Amen. Yeah, no, beautifully put. 100% agree. And we just gotta stay focused and on mission. All right, everybody, lots to talk about. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin way on the culture. So stay tuned. We still got a lot of content for you guys.
The Daily Culture.
All right, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the Orange Pill app. The Orange Pill app is the Bitcoin social layer. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 11,500 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. If you're going to a new city, or you're on the move with the Bitcoin, you're going to a Bitcoin conference, or perhaps you're in your city that you've lived in for a very long time, you just don't know any Bitcoiners around you, you pull up the Orange Pill app. It has a really cool geographical feature. Will literally show you the Bitcoiners that are near you, and it gives you the ability to send them a message directly over DM. Also, it's the #1 resource for Bitcoin only events. Again, if you're traveling, you're going to a Bitcoin conference, you just don't know what's happening that night, pull up the Orange Pill app. It will show you. It's one of the best ways to reach me directly. I don't really answer Twitter DMs or emails these days, but if you send me a message on the Orange Pill app, I take the time every week or so to get back to every single one of you guys. So download the Orange Pill app today, scan the QR code on your screen, or check the link in the video description. All right, man, I'm really excited about this. We got our boy V for Vendetta, Tony, in the house, and he's going to talk about the Bitcoin way.
Nico, let's play the video real quick.
Awesome. So yeah, so they just released a new commercial this morning, and I'll play it for you guys. About 2 or 3 minutes.
Everything seemed normal. Successful businesses were functioning as they usually should. Money was being placed in the bank as savings. Life was good. Nobody notices anything funny. But 2008 hits and all hell breaks loose. Everything we thought about money and the banking was a complete lie, a complete sham, a Ponzi, a scam. The whole world fell apart and a lot of people got hurt financially. And as a result of this, the Bitcoin white paper was born. But yet the same mistakes keep happening over and over again. People are leaving money on their institutions up until the last straw, FTX, when billions of dollars were lost, families were decimated, life savings were completely wiped, and people were wondering what on earth just happened. We have an option to take full custody of our funds, and that's Bitcoin. We just have to learn the process. It's not hard. It's just something we've never had to do before. Otherwise, the same mistakes are going to keep repeating themselves, and people are going to continue to get hurt over and over and over until they learn you need to exit the system in order to protect yourselves and your loved ones.
Pew, pew, pew. Man, loved it. Great video that you guys put together. The music, the production, the editing, it was great stuff. And I want to focus on the last part before I pass it on to Opti, which is this idea that we've never had this capability before, and we've never really had the capability of being able to custody vast sums of wealth, or just your entire net worth, and in an easy way too, right? Because I would say the only really equivalent would be doing that with gold. And maybe it's unpopular with Bitcoiners. Like I physical gold like is dope. Like I have a little gold bar, like, and I'm never gonna sell it just because it's like, you know, it's the thing, right? But I just, it's very limiting. Like like try doing that with a good deal of money. It's gonna be heavy, right? And then good luck traveling with it. Like good luck going to the airport. What's the limits? I think it's like $10,000 on the plane. Like, yeah, I mean, there's huge risk there. If you take self-custody of your Bitcoin, like 12 words, like good luck, you know? And I think that really radically changes the game. The relationship between the individual and the state is completely changed. It really changes society as a whole. Is this very simple thing. And usually the most simple things are the things that are the most consequential, but it's just like, the ability for one individual to custody vast sums of wealth and also have the ability to send that anywhere globally, worldwide, for very cheap. That is absolutely revolutionary, those two things. So anyways, Tony, I don't know if you want to add to that, but.
Yeah, man, Bitcoin is the eighth, ninth wonder of the world. It's the first time, you know, in the history of humanity, you don't need anybody's permission to use your own money. You know, you don't owe anyone anything anymore. This is your own time and energy that you are preserving 100%. I mean, don't you realize that you're being ripped off on a daily basis working in the legacy system? It's abundantly clear now. I mean, give you a simple example. If you're making $1,000 a month, it's being debased through inflation at least 15%, if not more, depending where you're living. So chop that off of the $1,000. Then you're paying whatever amount you're paying in taxes, up to 50%. You know, so add that all together. What's left from that $1,000 in purchasing power? What, $200? So that means essentially you're working 75% of the year for free. You know, if you're actually doing basic math. So why would you keep yourself in this predicament? And to make things worse, if you need your money, you need to, you know, get the blessing of your bank manager. You know, if he's woken up on the wrong side of the bed one day, or he decided you said something he didn't agree with, well, then you have no money. He will just refuse you and send you packing home. Like, why would you want to do that? Who gave them the right to own so much power? But again, this was the lie that we were fed from the day we were born. But it turns out, you know, that the money in the bank is not yours. You know, until this day, there's too many people that still can't comprehend this. And this is where, you know, we must keep pushing the education and the knowledge to make them realize that if you don't do anything, if you don't exit the system, you're going to fall, you're going to sink with the ship spectacularly, like everybody else who has gone through this dark journey, unfortunately. So again, we have this option now. It's like somebody handing you a lottery ticket. You'd have to be insane not to sit down and consider taking it.
100%. It is like a lottery ticket, and as time goes by, that lottery ticket becomes more expensive. And I do want to focus on, and I'm gonna pass it on to Opti because Opti has some questions prepared. This is where you guys come in. This is what the Bitcoin Way focuses on, which is you guys arm individuals with the tools and the skill set to really fully utilize the power that Bitcoin gives, or the power that the tools that Bitcoin gives you. It gives you power, really. I don't know how else to phrase it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bitcoin makes you untouchable. It makes you unconfiscatable, and when you're in that position, those who hate you, well, they can't control you. This is why, Bitcoin is such a threat to the status quo, is because it removes power completely. The fiat system was created for three things and three things alone. It's to steal, censor, and control. There's nothing else behind it. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the pain and destruction being caused by it at this day and age. But it's technology, okay? And this is where a lot of people have a hard time with it, because most people don't come from a tech background. So they're not sure how to approach it. Am I going to do something wrong? Am I going to lose my funds? Because that is a valid concern. If you make a mistake in this game, then the money's gone. There's no refund center. And so where we come in is that we remove all of that anxiety by streamlining the entire process, by simplifying it into 4 easy steps, taking you from point A to point, fully airtight, lockdown, bulletproof setup in a way that a 10-year-old will understand. And since we started doing this, we realized that, the need of individuals getting into Bitcoin, once the money is secure, there's a lot more that you can do with it to sort of cement your sovereign lifestyle. So when you start off with the money, once that's accounted for, you can move up to securing, the devices, for example, that you use to manage that money. This is where our cybersecurity experience and value comes in. And then we've taken it even one step further. If you don't like where you're living, or you don't agree with the direction that your government is going in, or you don't like what they're doing and how they're making your life miserable, well, leave. There are options out there, and we have a citizenship program now that will help you go from wherever you are to a place that, one, is Bitcoin friendly, and two, respects you as an individual, respects your freedoms, and doesn't give you a headache on a daily basis because of what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're doing online. Like, none of this rubbish exists in every country. So pick how you want to live. Do you want to put up with with headaches all day long, or do you want to improve your life? If you have kids, it's almost a must, like a necessary decision that you have to account for if you don't want them to grow up and live in a future that's dictated by a bunch of psychopaths that think they're going to decide what's best for them and tell them how to live their lives.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely bullish, man. You guys embody the Bitcoin ethos. Opti?
Yeah. So actually, you covered some of the stuff, but there is a good question here, and it'll kind of pivot to the next question. So Homeschool Bitcoin on Twitter goes, can Bitcoin Way assist with setting up a full node on an old 2010 Mac Mini? So for everyone out there, what are the services that Bitcoin Way will provide for people? And who is the ideal customer for Bitcoin Way?
Everyone who wants to maintain their freedom and full control over their money. So we cover all aspects of the technology. We deal with encrypted vaults. We deal with air-gapped wallets. We deal with Bitcoin nodes. We make the best and strictest recommendations for the hardware and software. We are unforgiving on that front. So we have a list of criteria that we abide by. We test many products that are out there to filter out the good from the bad. And based on those that pass these tests, we put them on a list and we send them out to folks. And they pick and choose whatever they want based on personal preference, and we help them set it up. We troubleshoot, we offer remote support all year round, for whether it's for training, whether it's to assist with software updates, firmware upgrades, all of that stuff. So think of us as as your personalized IT team, cybersecurity team in the background, available to you all day long, no matter what it is that you're going to encounter. And the primary goal here is to have an infrastructure in place that secures your funds so that you're sleeping well at night, knowing that nothing's going to happen. And we train you, like really religiously train you, so that the chances of you screwing something up along the way are very close to zero. And so far, every single individual that we've consulted with, and by the way, we consult with folks from all age groups. Most of them are mid to late 50s and up. So it's not necessarily, the young crowd that are coming into this space. It's mostly the older crowd. And for them, this is very new. And we're very cognizant of this, which is why, we've streamlined the process. And we're exceptionally good teachers, because this can be very daunting to someone who's never seen it before, especially if they don't come with a world where they're comfortable with computers and tech in general. So that's really what we eliminate. And we handhold everybody through every single one of our processes, whether it's the money, whether it's the devices, whether it's their citizenship and residency programs. We meet you in person. It's a face-to-face experience, and we handhold you through all of it.
That's awesome, man. Incredible. I love Bitcoiners, man. I love the Bitcoin way. Opti?
Yeah. Moving forward. So, Tony, what is... Actually, I'm going to go back. How's it been the last year starting Bitcoin Way? How's that process been, and what's the most rewarding aspect of your job at Bitcoin Way?
I got into Bitcoin after my life was destroyed, my life savings completely stolen. And so I was desperate into finding a solution to this, to ensure that this can never happen to me again or to anyone else. And this is why we put the Bitcoin Way together, and with the mission to take the pain that I've went through and weaponize it into a tool of education to empower everyone out there who also doesn't want to find themselves in that same predicament, to know what they need to do in order to ensure that their lives remain as free and sovereign as possible. Since we started the Bitcoin Way, we've met hundreds of folks, and it's been incredibly humbling and rewarding from a human perspective. I've spoken to people that have come from, all parts of life. They all have their stories. Most of the ones that that impact me the most are the ones that come from pain, because you understand that these people are not coming into Bitcoin for fun. They're not coming in here to speculate. They're coming in here to survive. And so they're not playing games. They're not taking shortcuts. They want to do their part into ensuring that as many people as possible understand the right message behind Bitcoin, and so that it spreads globally. The ripple effect of this knowledge and this positivity and this encouragement, must be the message that's put out there, and so as many people as possible embrace it the proper way. You don't want people to come in here thinking they want to make dollar profits. That is absolutely the wrong mindset. And most of the time, they're going to get completely destroyed, because we are transitioning from a broken system into a new one. And as we very clearly see, the powers, that control that corrupt system are not going to give it up without a fight. And so this volatility is something, it's like a headache we just have to deal with. But if you zoom out and you're patient enough, 99% of the time you come out solidly on top. So this is where the message of the Bitcoin Way comes in. And we're there to talk to people. Okay, I mean, we have a direct link to everyone. They can reach out to us almost 24/7 all year round. Somebody wakes up in the middle of the night with a panic attack and a question, he can reach out, she can reach out. There's somebody there to respond. So we ensure that being on this journey is not something that you have to go on by yourself. You're not alone. There's a whole bunch of people that that are on the same side as you. We're here. We make sure we keep the community as cohesive and connected as possible. And wherever we can contribute, you can bet your ass we're going to be doing it.
Love it. One of my favorite memes, Tony, that I've heard you say before is how Apple has like the Apple support team. Bitcoin Way is basically like the Bitcoin IT team. And I think we all in our small part do that with our friends and family, like the Uncle Jim model, where like we're the ones helping our friends and family understand why Bitcoin, how to do it correctly. But that's the goal of Bitcoin Way. It's like if you don't have someone in your life that is a Bitcoiner and you're the sole Bitcoiner, then you get in touch with the Bitcoin Way team and they will make sure that you are protected.
Absolutely, man. I mean, our services go way beyond, following a manual for a specific product. This is not what we're about. Many people can do this. We bring in our years of experience and, to a large part, my personal story that brought me into the space. I was retired at the age of 41. I ran 3 successful businesses. My life, as far as I'm concerned, that's it. I can kick back, enjoy life. Everything is cool. And then I wake up one day and it's gone to zero, all of it. So I'm not an idiot. Okay, but I was fed that same lie into thinking, that you work hard, you put money in the bank, that's how life is, and everything will be fine. It's not. And so if it can happen to me, it's going to happen to a lot more people, especially those that don't take the time to listen to these stories, because these are the ones that truly matter. Somebody who's sharing their experience from you has no bad intentions. They are sending out a warning, trying to capture your attention so that you destroy that illusion that just because things are okay for you today, that they're going to remain like this forever. The fiat system is broken. It doesn't matter whether you're living in New York, in Beverly Hills, or in some third world country. If that's all you're using, your end result for all of you is a big fat zero. So if you don't want to reach that nightmare, you have to opt out. Okay. And again, for the first time in the species of the human race, we have that option called Bitcoin. Thankfully, we do, because if we didn't have it, who knows how bad things will get. And ultimately, when things get dire enough, your only solution is violence. Okay. And I'm not one who wants to see that. I've lived through it. I know that horror movie. It is something that I promise you, you do not want to see. It's something that no one has seen before. When good people are desperate enough and pushed to do bad things, it is not a sight that you will ever forget. And so I don't want to see that happen. And in order to prevent this, we need a large enough number of people to create that social bottoms-up pressure to do this peacefully. Like, we have an option. You can either defund the corruption that's destroying our lives, or you can go to war with it. Most people don't want to go to war with anyone. I don't want to go to war with anyone. So we have the option to defund it, but we have to apply ourselves to it. We don't want to speculate. Bitcoin is not the risky asset. Fiat is the risky asset, because that one is guaranteed to go to zero. Bitcoin may be volatile in the meantime as we transition into that Bitcoin standard, which ultimately I'm 100% convinced we're going to get there, because, people, at some point are just going to snap out of whatever nonsense they have and realize that their lives are going to hell if they don't react in the right way. And hopefully we can be a beacon of education, of hope, of strength, of empowerment, in order to fast track that process. So our services really embody the Bitcoin lifestyle. Okay. Yes, we handle all of the technology because that's, the fundamentals of it all. But we assist with the entire Bitcoin lifestyle ecosystem, from taking you from where you are all the way to moving you to a jurisdiction where you can continue living as a happy individual with you, your kids, your family, and whoever else you want to, embark with on this journey.
Love it. Love it. Tony, so wrapping up here, what is the future of Bitcoin Way, and what do you hope to accomplish in the next year, 2, 3, 5, 10 years? Whatever the end goal is here with Bitcoin Way, what's the mission?
We are constantly innovating our services to focus on these 3 priorities: the money, the devices, and the freedom, the jurisdictions. And based on that, we're going to keep maturing these services based on what's happening in the globe. We're on top of the news. We see what's going on. We talk to many folks, on a daily basis. We hear their stories. We customize our services based on the stories of other people to see how we can fine tune, how we can reach even more individuals in parts of the world maybe that we haven't considered, to see how we can sort of find resources to assist those that need it. That's really what we're about. We want to push people into a Bitcoin standard as quickly as possible so that everybody's life improves. If you meet someone who's been living on a Bitcoin standard, have you ever heard them complain? I haven't. I've never met an unhappy Bitcoiner because they're already living in the future, right? Like their cost of living goes down when you're on a Bitcoin standard. Whereas if you're not doing this and you're still, that hamster on the wheel trying to make ends meet, well, things are only going to get more dire, more expensive, and at some point you're just not going to know what to do. And that's the scenario that I want to avoid, because that's when all sorts of craziness manifests.
100%, Tony. Okay. What's the last message? What's the final 2 cents you want to give to the audience before we wrap up today's show?
Consider Bitcoin, study Bitcoin. It's in your best interest. It's in the best interest of your family. You owe it to them to ensure that their futures are not dictated by a bunch of criminals and psychopaths that are not here to serve you. So opt out, and it's not that hard. And if you need help, we are absolutely here day and night in order to do whatever we can to make the journey as seamless and as comfortable and as easy as possible.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So guys, to get started, go to thebitcoinway.com. And again, these guys will be your personal Bitcoin IT team. Also, I just kind of want to address someone in the comments, kind of been going back and forth, and like guys, you have to understand, and we've been very neutral on this show for many, many months now. And we didn't speak up until the Biden administration locked the Samurai guy, which is part of, DOJ. You can say it's all connected. They locked the Samurai Bitcoin developers in a box. Before that, they went after Tornado Cash to set the precedent. Not to mention all the other times that we've had people like Caitlin Long that are really like entrepreneurs, really trying to roll out Bitcoin, Bitcoin businesses in the United States. And you have someone like Cameron Winklevoss and Tyler Winklevoss, and you have someone like Nick Carter. Like, they got skin in the game. And if they're telling you, that this current administration is against the industry, they're probably telling you something. This is something also that me and Opti saw with our own research, because we are a daily news show, so we have to stay on top of the news. And, for the longest time, and I even got upset at Opti the first time he brought it up, I was like, dude, like, don't get divisive in the political discussion. But here's the thing. The moment you locked one of us in a box, and the moment you start to threaten and insinuate that you're going after self-custody, is the moment that you cross a red line, and we have to say something. And not to mention, it created a situation where their political opponents that weren't pro-Bitcoin, they didn't have a stance. It created an opportunity for them to capitalize on the drop ball that this current administration, did. So it's like, if you can't see past the political rhetoric of like Orange Man bad, RFK bad, Biden good, then you're not really serious about the separation of money and state. Because at the end of the day, I don't want like this whole political thing. And I know Tony feels very strongly about this statement. This whole political garbage is insane. Like, the fact that we have to vote some guy into office, like a popularity contest, and that guy is somehow responsible for, the economy and society. Like, that idea is batshit crazy. It's insane. I really believe in the theory of the sovereign individual, that over time, Bitcoin will make politics irrelevant. The separation of money and state will make politics irrelevant, where governments can no longer counterfeit money, and their only way of raising revenue is via direct taxation. And you're going to have different jurisdictions competing for your business, right? So yeah, like that's where I'm heading. And what I see Trump or where I see RFK is I see them as a means to an end to that, you know, to that world that we want to get to. I see the current administration via their actions, not their political rhetoric or not articles online or none of that bullshit, just their actions. And we're a Bitcoin show, so we don't focus on all the other BS. It's incredibly obvious that if you're a Bitcoin entrepreneur in the United States, two candidates are awesome, and take a look at their speeches at the Bitcoin conference. And the current administration that's in power, Biden and Harris could free Ross right now if they wanted to. They could do it right now, right? They've been anti-Bitcoin. If you don't have the self-awareness and you can't see past the political rhetoric, dude, you got bigger problems. That's what I got to say about that. So anyways, I hope I explained it. I hope I got into it, and I kind of ruined the show a little bit because we were going along with Tony. He was dropping hot fire, but yeah, I have to address the comment.
I agree with Tony. All politicians lie, but hey, 4 years of good cover for Bitcoin would be great.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be great for the industry. Bitcoin doesn't need the price doesn't need a politician to go up. It would defeat the entire purpose of it, right? Anyways, guys, so if you guys enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Until then, Rustin will be dropping a hot fire Simply Bitcoin original later on today. The originals are sponsored by Bitcoin Way, by the way. Yeah, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.
Episode was brought to you by bitcoinwell.com, on a mission to enable independence.